sure is. Okay, please go ahead, Jad.
Okay, so as I was mentioning to Dominique before you joined, Jim, what I'm interested in is AI filmmaking. So it's
Mhm.
I feel like we're at a very unique time period in filmmaking. In terms of like the 1910 era right now, where we're starting to see the opportunity to create moving images from text. And
Mhm.
the more that you can control the image, the image generation, the more successful you're going to be at being able to create the video. And in this case, Midjourney is not currently a video generating program. It can only do image generating, but it's considered the best, as far as its image generation capability. But by being able to select different areas and paint over those areas, you can create the kind of scene that you want, and then you can take the image out of Midjourney into like Full Journey or Runway or others, and you can create a video out of it. So it gives you a lot of capabilities. If you can, whatever you can imagine, you can create a video of it. Now, Midjourney is working on a video generation. So, but this technology for the AI is just astounding in terms of the speed by which it's working, and the costs are coming down dramatically. So, for example, Runway has been running around like $90, I think, a month, for unlimited generation. But that's it's good video, but the problem is that it's very expensive. But this month, Full Journey announced that it was reducing their version to $30 a month. So now you can get unlimited video generation for $30 a month, which
Mm.
really opens up the possibility of doing some, filmmaking at a very budget price. The more you can control the images, the closer you're going to get to being able to create the kind of movies that you want. So again, granted, this is very, very, very raw video. I mean, it makes a lot of mistakes. For example, it may give you it may give you six fingers. So it's not something that you know um, you know you're not going to be able to get in Cannes Film Festival with anything you produce at the current point. But like I said, this is 1910. This is where we are right now, and it's going to quickly evolve. Within a few years, my guess is that uh, you will have a hard time knowing which one was generated by a camera and which one was generated by AI, and that's just it's just mind blowing.
I think one of the challenges that the film industry faces, though, and this would, you know, have an impact on the studios, is that right now you cannot get a copyright on anything that's generated by AI. And so, you know how the studios come after people if they, pirate their movies or whatever and distribute them online. They wouldn't really have a legal basis for doing that if they couldn't get a copyright on them. And so that's one of the issues right now, that you can't get a copyright on something that's not generated directly by a human. And so there have been a number of court cases about this, and so it's sort of a hurdle. And I know this is one of the elements of this writer's strike and Screen Actor Guild's strike right now, that people are afraid that their images, for example, are going to be sort of taken by AI, and if you're an actor, they'll recreate you with AI, and they don't need to hire you, and all this stuff. Similar things have gone on in the like the fashion industry with models and so forth. And so if you're creating movies, though, and you can't copyright them, then that's sort of a problem. That sort of goes right to the wallets of Hollywood. So it's an interesting conundrum. I think one of the things that's going to happen as AI improves over, say, the next 5 years or so, we're going to start seeing AI create patents, come up with patentable ideas. It doesn't really do it so much right now because it sort of lacks a reasoning ability. But as researchers add that ability to AI systems, which may happen over the next 5 years, it's always hard to tell about these things. But as they add that reasoning capability, then we may see an explosion of patents created by AI. And in which case it's going to be, the legal system is going to have sort of a conundrum because right now you cannot get a patent on something that was created by AI. So we'll see how that develops. It's a very interesting space. The whole thing with the filmmaking and everything else, it's very interesting. So we'll see how all this plays out.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I heard, you know, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that the court case this week that was appealed, you know, and that the appeals court said they did deny the patent was because in this case, the program was fully responsible for generating the image. So it was
Right.
not, it wasn't done with human input at all. So that's an easy slam dunk decision by the court, you know, because you know, it's not used as an assistant. The AI is not used as an assistant. It's just doing it. And so clearly that's not patentable, you know, from a legal point of view. I think it gets a little bit more muddy though, because like, for example, in Midjourney and these other programs, it requires a lot of know-how, which artists are taking advantage of because they know how to do their art. So they're creating prompts that they don't want others to see. So they specifically want to hide those prompts.
Well, I'm sorry, it's been argued in court that even if you're an expert at creating prompts, that doesn't count. It's the final result that's the problem. And so let's say you create something in Midjourney, and the Copyright Office actually has recently issued guidelines about this. If you take something, for example, from Midjourney, and then you extensively modify it in a program like Photoshop, for example, then you may be able to get a copyright on it. To me, it seems similar to the laws regarding fair use. For example, if you take a photograph of a statue or you know, an artwork, a sculpture or something like that, and try to get a copyright on it, you can't, because what you're doing is you're just taking a picture of something that someone else created. And so, you know, maybe if there's an unusual shadow that results from the statue or sculpture, and you take a picture just of the shadow, maybe that's a different issue. But if you do anything that reproduces the work so that it may lessen the marketability of that work, for example, let's say the creator of the sculpture had a postcard that they sold of that work. Well, if you took a photograph and tried to sell your photograph, try to get a copyright on your photograph, you'd be infringing on their copyright. So you have to modify things enough so that it no longer really resembles the original, so that you've done so much to the image that it's a sort of a separate work now. It's not even considered really a derivative work, but a separate work. So I think there's ways to do it, but you have to make a lot of modifications yourself. And I think that's, in a sense, a saving grace for artists, because, you know, they're good at art. They're good at having a vision for what something should look like. So, you know, they could take some of these ideas and massage them enough, manipulate them enough, so that it's really their own work. And so the Copyright Office has issued guidelines about that. And, you know, you can look that up on their website. So there are ways to do it. There are ways to get around these problems. But right now it's sort of complicated. And when the patent stuff starts hitting, oh boy, that's going to make a mess legally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's those are good points. I think I think what we want is ideal world, I don't know, the legal view of ideal is different, but I mean, my ideal version of it is that, that people aren't cut out of anything. I mean, obviously, I think we all want productivity increases. We all want to see AI benefit humans, in our work and as a society as a whole. So
Yeah.
it would be really cool if the copyright laws and the patent laws don't eliminate humans at all. I mean, that there's not one artist who loses their job and all that. But at the same time, it would be cool if we don't eliminate AI either. So how that balance is going to be ultimately struck is going to be a decision for the courts. But I think what you're saying is definitely going to be how the courts are going to look at it. That's definitely where things are going, and I think that's
Well,
good.
and legislation as well. It may be that
Right.
Congress is going to need to update the copyright laws and the patent
Exactly.
laws and things like that. But it's a interesting area right now. I was at a copyright seminar a couple of months ago, hosted by a famous copyright lawyer, and he said, "Well, when are the courts going to catch up with AI?"
Hmm.
He said, "Never." He said that we've had the internet for like 30 years or something, and the court system still hasn't caught up with that. So he says it's very difficult to write a book on copyright law right now. He's written various books, and he'd like to update uh, his most recent copyright book, but he said the law is changing so quickly right now that by the time he got done writing the new version of the book, it would be out of date. So it's a very fast moving area. I think we're just scratching the surface of what AI is going to offer. And
Right.
the tools that we've got right now are nothing compared to what we'll have maybe in 5 years from now. But
Right.
it's a very interesting space.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if I mean, I understand his point as far as on catching up, and it's just going to be one of those areas where it's going to take a while for the courts to process it. But my concern is that the technology is going to evolve much faster. I think we almost need a faster legal system.
Well, I think all this AI stuff, everybody's worried about it replacing jobs, but I think typically what happens with these new technologies is, well, AI is not exactly a new technology. It's been around since
Yeah.
like the 50s. But
Right.
typically what happens is when you have a new technology that sort of comes into vogue, it ends up being used as a tool. And so it may eliminate certain types of jobs, but open up other jobs like prompt engineering jobs, for example. And it just becomes a tool so that you can do your job easier. And so I
Mhm.
think that's the pattern that we've had in the past with new emerging technologies. And so I suspect it's going to be similar this time around as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that this is, it has to be managed, obviously, like you said, at a court and also legislative area. Um, it is quite amazing. Like for example, this week, as far as just keeping tossing some news out here, there was another, I forgot who it was, but somebody made a site called Fake Me, where now you can generate, fake Instagram posts and fake images of yourself, maybe based upon your image and everything. So you wonder, like, at what point, you know, I mean, at what point are you seeing something real? At what point are you seeing some video which is of a real person? And that has its own level of complexity and difficulties.
Yeah, in fact, there was an article. I'll see if I can get to it. I'm going to let Dominique go before I go because I've got some articles that I'm sort of bringing up right now. But it's about how do we tell? I don't know if I've got it here. How do we tell when artificial intelligence does become self-aware? How do we really know?
Hmm.
So it's an interesting question right there.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um,
I guess Dominique, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm still looking through all the interesting stuff, but I mean, I can go. Okay, so I think this, yeah, just like Jim mentioned, I really like to see like what AI can do, what AI will change the future of talent. So this news is on the New York Times. The title is in reversal because of AI office job are now more at risk. So it's not really at risk, it's more like exposure to the AI. So if you see this, technology disruptions typically affected blue-collar occupations. Now is white-collar workers may feel the burn of changes. Okay, so I can tell you like my current situation, I do feel the burn because I mean, I think if you kind of keep following like my journey or XReality Academy, my background is UX UI, but recently UX UI becomes such a big thing just because of COVID. During COVID, people are working physically, for example, like a restaurant or some other places, nursing, they start flooding to UX UI design during COVID because UX UI designers, we can work from home and it's kind of design art, right? So a lot of girls or a lot of people who work physically at a store, they jump into UX UI. And UX UI is much easier to enter than coding. And it's kind of for people who has artistic mindsetting, it's really good job for them. So that's why during COVID, I became the kind of like a mentor for UX UI designers. And I know how crazy it was. I had like 20, 30 students 1 week. And I was so busy and there were so many jobs because all the companies, they need a website. All the mom and pop stores, every physical store need a website. Digital transformation during that time. So UX UI designer just like suddenly overwhelmed with all these other job, other
Dominic,
people. Yeah.
Dominic, can you tell me what UX/UI stands for? I'm sorry.
UX UI, user experience design, and also refers to web design, app design, using Figma, and we do like a user behavior research, and then we do user interface such as web design. So you see all the design stuff, but on the digital product, that's more like a UX UI design. So yeah, so during that time it was a lot, and later on, because you see the economy just like a booming, but later on, you know, it's just like a bubble, right? And last year was probably the end of the bubble time. So later on, you see like interest inflation, and also big company lay people off because during COVID they overhire people because the pay, like it's like government encourage the big companies to hire people. So the payroll loan, right? For example, if you hire extra person in like a USA citizen, and we will give kind of like we will pay the salary for you. So that's why the company keep expanding. So government want the people keep working and they don't mind just to cover the payroll for the big company. So big company just keep hiring. But later on, there's no support. After about last year, there's no support. So big companies start laying people off like this year. So the bubble burst. And then a lot of UX UI designer during that time, they transfer from physical job to UX UI, and now they graduate from boot camp or college and they couldn't find any jobs. So, and if you see, there are a lot of like AI, I would say softwares that even Figma is trying to do something. For example, if you see Galileo, I have a lot of students see Galileo AI design and they feel like Galileo AI design. If you see this, you will feel like how amazed that is. For example, you put a prompt, right? and it
Mhm.
will generate an app for you. And
Oh,
it can
wow.
be edited in Figma, which is the design tools, like a Photoshop. Yeah,
Mhm.
so you
So
just
this is just sort of a layout, is that correct?
yeah, right. So yeah, imagine now it's just single screen, right? Later on, it will be flow pretty easily. I would say the reason why you can do this is because UX UI is pretty much become a template. For example, login. There's a way to log in. And yeah, it's like there is a certain flow for logging. There is a certain flow for, search. Like a lot of different types of like basic form. It's not the best one, but it can be basic. So I would say these types of technology will take over the junior designer and also the mediocre designer, like
Mhm.
in the middle, right? The
Right.
best one still need, for example, after somebody typed this and the entire, app was generated, they need somebody probably only 8 hours, right? Or 5 hours, jump in and clean up a little bit and now ready to produce. And Figma has another feature, which is very scary. Figma has two toggles. One is dev mode, another one is the design mode. If you toggle to dev mode, everything you see on the screen will turn to code.
Really?
Mhm.
So you can just, wow, yeah.
What platforms?
Figma. Do you know Figma?
Oh, just Figma, okay.
Yeah,
So
Figma. Yeah.
did the sale of Figma to Adobe go through? Did that acquisition get approved?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
Figma, if we can, Figma, Adobe acquisition, I think it went through, right? Confirm to acquire. I think it goes through, right? Acquire.
Mm.
I think so. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, this is just a simple background. So a lot of I would say a lot of junior designer, including a lot of my students, couldn't find jobs. They've been hanging there. They are really amazing, I can tell you, but they just couldn't find a job. Yeah, this year. And I had some student junior designers. They got a job last year, but they got kicked out this year. So there are a bunch of people just, trying to reform themselves. However, if you see this article, the interesting thing is that if you dive in, it talks about college educate workers are most exposed to AI. Exposed doesn't mean you will get replaced, but it also means AI can assist or do the majority of your job. Okay. So if you see this high school diploma or less, such as sewing machine operators, drying cleaners, fast food workers. I mean, if I saw it, I saw a lot of Asian restaurants, such as the restaurant in Japan. Pretty much they use, the robot servant or automation, the menu. So you couldn't see any human beings inside restaurant, but everything is pretty much automated. It's like a Japanese restaurant. So, I mean, yeah, it's like you won't get too much exposure by AI, but I am questioning this. However, if you are graduate school, like pharmacists, lawyers, it's very likely, or you are for the college degree, is very highly that your job will be exposed, or you will get highly chance to work with AI. And this is interesting. For now, skills like carpenter or carpentry seems safer from AI disruption. So, but I would say I saw another trailer or some videos. It talks about in the future. Imagine all our building machine has AI on top of it. So carpenter maybe just by AI kind of like just do the cutting, right? But it might take a little bit longer for AI to kind of become more like a combined with machine. So blue column right now seems like much safer than the white column, which
I was in a seminar the other day.
Hmm.
It was on Swift programming with
Hmm.
Mac, and for iOS. And somebody attending is working on their master's degree in like computer science, and we were wondering, how people in his class felt about AI and whether they would be replaced by AI. And he said, no, people aren't really worried. They're just excited by it and looking forward to it. And he said all of his classmates are using Copilot and ChatGPT. And so I don't know. I think, when they come up with these estimates, sometimes it's hard to tell how accurate these estimates can really be.
Yeah,
And
because when I saw this, actually for washing machine or drying cleaners, it's very easy to be auto operate as well. Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think it's a hard thing to estimate.
Yeah, right.
So,
but for sure that there will be some interesting things happen. And by the way, I saw one of my students share with me an interesting article. Let me find it through my phone. I just put on my phone. That one was Sam Altman, or it's called WorldCoin. Okay, so let me share with you.
right.
WorldCoin. So Sam Altman believes that AI will slowly replace all the humans. So what can human do? He wants to use cryptocurrency. He invented, this is kind of backed by Sam Altman. He wants to create a universal basic income and paid by everybody in the future who give away their iris information will be able to receive the universal basic income in cryptocurrency from this company. So the overall idea was, we believe the rights for personal privacy, and they believe everybody should work together. WorldCoin is an open source protocol supported by global economy of developers, individual communities, and technology. They want to kind of help people to, just ensure that it's in the future, we don't have to do anything and we will be really poor, right? Because we don't have jobs, because all the jobs will be taken by AI. And Sam Altman want to create something that by scanning, you give away your iris, and then later on you will receive the universal basic income. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that this is from the same guy who's
yeah, when I heard of that, I don't know what to say. It feels like, hey, we make these types of things happen, and then now we are trying to, I don't know. Yeah,
maybe this is for when people complain about AI taking over. He says, well, I did create WorldCoin.
Yeah, it's by default, the orb prompt deletes iris image after creation of the iris code. Individual can have option to back up their image. I feel like they just want your iris, and later on, they will give you some, it's like they want your biometric data. And later on, they will give you free money just to get your data. But what I'm scared is that Sam Altman, long time ago, we talked about Sam Altman talking to China's government and trying to come up with a good plan for AI control or AI something. And now the iris scanning is happening.
Well, the way I look at it is, what if some company says, well, give us your mother's maiden name and then we'll give you a few bucks.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, so World ID is a digital passport that let you prove you are a unique and real person while remaining anonymous. This is very scary because, right now we can free talk in the forum. But in the future, if everybody has it, or something, then they wanna build World ID SDK. They wanna use your data and put a software develop kit. Okay.
Does this get fed into ChatGPT somehow or what?
Yeah. And ChatGPT, is usually linked to, something. So yeah, they will give you a few bucks for, every unique human on WorldCoin. And WorldCoins is kind of like a crypto, like a currency that once you give that, they will keep giving you. It's like, I give you money, but I am not giving you actual money. I give you something I create.
Yeah, monopoly.
It's not even a money. Is that something that print out from the machine that I create is called money. Yeah, it's like they create this cryptocurrency and says that universal access to global economy regardless background. It's designed to become the world's largest human identity and financial network, giving ownership to everyone, all with the intention of welcoming every person on the planet and establishing a place for all of us benefit in the age of AI.
What it reminds me of is there was an old Twilight Zone episode where aliens came down to Earth and they said, oh, we want to help you out and give you new technologies. And then we'd also like to take you for a visit to our planet. And so everybody was very excited. And so this guy I think he was speaking at the United Nations or something, this alien. And he accidentally left a book behind. And the title of the book was To Serve Man. And so this scientist is getting ready to go on his trip back to their planet to visit their planet. And just as he's getting on board the spaceship, his colleague who was trying to translate the book runs up and yells to him, To serve man, it's actually a cookbook.
Yeah.
That was really a great episode. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. So if you see this, why Africans are signing up to have their eyeballs scanned for about $60 in crypto?
But I do think that this is like this is kind of far out there, but like right now, for example, there is a concern because AI can now crack all of your verifications on the internet, so like, for example, Twitter is saying you need subscriptions or you need some way to authenticate. So we may end up having authentication centers where we may have like places like currency exchanges where you want to sign up for a site, you have to go there and get verified.
And the interesting thing is that my Hummingbird Day, if you know me, that I have another kind of design kind of business. It's called Hummingbird Day. We post tons of events and design stuff, and we got banned. It seems like I recently jumped into Hummingbird Day and I find out, wow, my X.com, the Twitter account was being banned. Yeah, and it says you violate this account violate the law of or terms and service of X.com.
Did they say what part of it?
And I clicked the description and it just go to a very generic one, like, oh, you post some nude stuff, some da. But I can tell you I didn't. It's just a bunch of design and XReality events. And I was like, what? Why? That entire, and I couldn't talk to anybody. It just said that and have a link, and I couldn't do that. Or I need to ping Elon Musk, hey, why my account was banned? Yeah, there's no human to talk. And I think it's probably
your company actually did work for Tesla, right?
Yeah, it's like it's more like a doing the fan project. But I mean I didn't even post anything, like some nude or some human against language or any violent stuff.
Maybe they just figure you're a fake account or something.
Yeah, something like that. I just don't know why I'm kind of doing against the Twitter's term and service. So that's my entire if you go here like a Twitter facebook.com/hummingbirthday. I don't know what's going on. This account suspended. Violet the Twitter roles, and if you see this, it's just a bunch of very generic things, and I was like, what have I done? Like a speech, sexual abuse,
That's
hateful conduct. I can tell you there's nothing here. It's just
I
yeah.
set up a Facebook account. As soon as I set up the account, it said it's suspended.
Yeah, right.
That happened to me too. Yeah.
I didn't even
Yeah.
have a chance to use it.
Yeah, maybe not using it, but I mean, Hummingbirthday, come on, we sometimes post things, but it's not like, hey, we are we are doing bad things. It's just anyway.
Facebook allowed me to appeal it, and I appealed it, and it still came back saying, "No." So what did I do? Yeah, it's crazy.
I guess
Yeah,
they unsuspended me, but I haven't been back yet to check.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So when I saw this, I think this is kind of a interesting things that we can take a look, like a attorney, right? Before we think that, oh, it takes a long time to be an attorney, but now AI has a law firm and it can solve the majority of the questions. Yeah,
Well,
and
the
also
thing I
yeah.
would worry about is the hallucinations. I
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I don't want a lawyer who hallucinates. I don't want anyone driving my car who hallucinates. You know, so
Did you see Trump? Trump has recently like there's a you see this, and I was thinking about
we
maybe
got to be very careful about what
oh
we.
yeah what we say, yeah, okay, so anyway, but it's just like he has a bunch of attorneys and there's like a mark there anyway. Okay. Go
Did you have
ahead. Sorry, just talk about politics, and I know a lot of people has a lot of mixed feelings about politics. Let's keep talking about AI. Yeah.
I mute all the politics stuff on my Twitter account. I
Yeah,
don't want
and
to
you're
talk about it.
yeah, and you and your Twitter, and those people are not getting violent, right? And my account posting a lot of like a design and XR AI stuff and got banned anyway.
I don't mind. I don't mind it. It's just the problem is that when you comment, you may not. You got to be very careful what you say. And
Yeah, right,
sometimes you go over the line, and it's like, oh man, I didn't mean to say that, and it's too late. So
yeah, right,
it's just
right.
for me, it's just better to mute it all.
Yeah. That's just muted. We wanna keep it like a neutral. Yeah.
Well, it
So
seems like the luster is coming off of the AI stocks now.
Yeah, I wonder how much profit, because so much of it is going open source.
yeah,
How is this going to become profitable? I mean, if
yeah,
you're, in OpenAI has got some. This is one of the things that came up this week, is that they're getting lawsuits from the New York Times and other, other places that are challenging how they got their how they got their material, maybe through
Yeah,
copyright
sure.
sources.
Yeah.
yeah.
I know there were some lawsuits about scraping of images, for example, but the problem they ran into was that they couldn't prove that their images were used in the generative AI results. But with something like the New York Times, it's probably pretty easy to prove that they're outputting, parts of articles from them or something. So it's sort of a mess.
It is, yeah. It's a big mess, yeah.
Yeah. So if you see this, like I think yeah, in this article it talks about industries over tech played by AI ETFs. So yeah, this is kind of like another interesting thing on ETFs. So tool AI funds. Yeah. So pretty much industry companies help each companies enhance their efficiency. And yeah, so pretty much they are and take yeah, I just opened this. I haven't read it.
Oh, it looks very good. It's very interesting discussions. So many things to talk about nowadays.
Yeah, right. And I every day you see if you just click AI, right? For example, NVIDIA versus AMD, Intel compare AI chip sales. AI could fortify big business, not
Actually,
pen.
Dominique, could you, that NVIDIA versus AMD versus Intel article, could you put a link
Yeah.
to that in the chat, please?
Okay.
Because I want to read that.
Yeah, and also I will put on our here, because I know every time when we put on the chat, it's very hard to just track it, right? So I want to kind of also put on here.
Okay.
So later on, once you get into our community, and you can definitely just like a recap if you find something interesting. So for example, this one, right? You can click NVIDIA, AMD, Intel compare AI chip sales. Okay, so
So go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'll.
yeah, okay.
I think it's a very interesting issue right now. NVIDIA is just tearing it up in terms of profits and so forth because of their. They have a processor that's sort of related to graphics processors that's being used in server farms for doing AI work, and it's very popular. I guess it's the most powerful one out there. But if you tried to run it on your computer and play video games with it, it's really not very good at video games, even though it's a graphics processor. But AMD is trying to get more into that space, and it looks like they are going to get into more of the economy space for that, where, you know, if you don't want to spend all the money that an NVIDIA board costs, you can get the AMD instead, maybe not get quite as much performance. And then Intel is just behind everyone else. And so, yeah, they're just, there's a mess. Now, I talked in one of our news segments, or in multiple news segments, I talked about this 3D laptop that Asus is coming out with. And it was supposed to come out in June, didn't come out, but the 2D version of it has come out. But one of the problems is it has an Intel CPU in it. And the problem with Intel CPUs is that they have to run them so hot to get performance that it becomes like, it ends up choking the system because it uses up all the cooling budget just for the CPU. And so, and it means that if you run the laptop on battery power, the performance goes down to like nothing. And your battery life is like, you know, a couple of hours, hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And so you have hardly any battery life at all. So it's too bad. I was sort of disappointed that they wanted to use an Intel CPU in that 3D laptop because I knew it was going to create a lot of problems like this, and apparently it is. So they haven't come out with the 3D version. So that's a shame.
Yeah, and I think NVIDIA, I really like one of their videos talking about what's GPA and GPU, CPU. Have you seen that video, Jim?
I don't know if I have, but I know that like 90% of the work is being done by GPUs in these server farms. And now they're going to, NVIDIA is going to add a CPU, their own CPU, an ARM CPU.
Oh, really?
Have you seen this video? Because I can tell you, I heard of what's the difference between GPU and CPU, but I never really understand. But when I watch this video, I understand 100%. Do you want to see this video? This video is just amazing, and I think people in just like 1 minute.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right, I introduced to you Leonardo, and he's going to paint a picture for you guys in the way that a CPU might do it, as a series of discrete actions performed sequentially, one after the other. In 3, 2, 1.
This is CPU.
Speed it up.
How CPU draw Mona Lisa?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Leonardo 2.0.
Yeah, this is
when we
GPU.
hit this trigger on this thing, 2,100 gallons of air goes through these accumulators, out these valves, into all 1,100 of these tubes, into these tubes in which the bottom of is a paintball. Each of those paintballs will fly across 7 feet of space and in 80 milliseconds reach its target, hopefully When it's all said and done, it's going to paint the Mona Lisa.
GPU painting demonstration.
Yep.
In 10,
9,
9,
8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, science class is now over. Thank you.
Yeah, so I really love that because before I was like, what's CPU, what's GPU? But when I see this, oh, GPU is so powerful and CPU is like da 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 da, and there's a smiling face.
Yeah, when you look at the power of the processing power in a GPU is so much higher than what's in a CPU.
Yeah.
So that's why so many processes use it. And there's a lot of parallel processing that's going on.
Yeah.
So you may have, I don't know, 10, 12 parallel threads that you can run on your CPU, maybe 24, depending on the CPU, but in GPUs, it could be thousands. So it's a lot more powerful, takes up more power. And that's the problem. If you have an Intel CPU that's running really hot, that means it's taking a lot of power and it's using up a lot of the cooling system. So that leaves a lot less of a power and cooling budget for the GPU, which is much more powerful. So it sort of gives you an out of balance system. And
do you by chance know why they can't just use a GPU and just eliminate the CPU altogether?
Well, you know, a lot of the operating system and so forth is runs on the CPU. And so a lot of software is designed to run on the CPU. If you get down to the bare bones level, there's the really low level.
It's like a terminal or like a line coding.
There's something called assembly language, and that is you won't find many assembly language programmers nowadays. I've programmed a lot in assembly language, but it's the instructions that the processor understands at the most basic level. So whenever you write a program, it converts that program into, eventually it converts it into what's called a binary, which runs on the CPU, which is assembly language. It's written in assembly language. That's the CPU's language. And so a lot of software is written to run in that. So that's the reason why if you have like an M1 or M2 Mac, which uses Apple Silicon, which uses an ARM processor like NVIDIA wants to create for their CPUs, it will not run like Windows 10 directly. So if you're running Parallels, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, which allows you to run virtual machines, you can't run Windows 10, a Windows 10 virtual machine on your Apple Silicon Mac because it's not able to the Windows 10 is designed to be run on the traditional Intel-like CPU. So it will not run on the ARM processor on which the Apple Silicon is based. So you have to run the ARM version of Windows 11 in a virtual machine if you're running an Apple that's got an M1 or M2 CPU. Maybe this is overly complicated, but so there's a difference. There's a fundamental difference in the language that the CPU understands. And so that's why everything doesn't run on the GPU.
Yeah, I think
that kind of explains it. I know that the GPU is using like the artificial intelligence approach, which deals with a lot of branching.
Yeah.
Well, artificial intelligence is something you just lay on top of the GPU. The GPU itself is just a bunch of raw processing power. It's got a bunch of small processors that can run at the same time. And so, if you're doing graphics and games or something, games just use the heck out of the graphics processor because they can render the frames, the graphics frames within the game. They can render them with a bunch of parallel processors. So
yeah. Oh, why this shows up? Yeah, so it says that GPUs key to AI, computer vision, and supercomputing and more. And CPU is the end of Moore's laws.
I don't know. Here's what Moore's law is all about. Basically, I used to work in the semiconductor industry, and you have little circuit traces. If you took an integrated circuit and opened it up and looked at it under a microscope, you'd see little circuit traces. You'd have to magnify it quite a bit nowadays to see the circuit traces, maybe an electron microscope. But you have these little circuit traces. And the smaller the circuit traces are, the more transistors you can fit on a chip. And the transistors are what implement the CPU or GPU, whatever processor you're talking about. So as you make those circuit traces smaller and smaller and smaller, that's often referred to as like the node size. You can fit more components onto a chip. So you can have like more, for a GPU chip, for example, you can fit more tiny little processors onto that chip, and you get more processing power. Also, what it does is it causes the chip to use less power. It turns out that the larger the circuit traces, the more coupling there is between one circuit trace and the one next to it. And that coupling uses up electrical power. It's sort of a waste. So when they say, oh, this processor takes so much electrical power, 100 watts or whatever, all of that power is wasted, because almost all of that power then gets converted into heat by the processor, which you then have to get rid of. Because if you don't get rid of all that heat, the processor heats up to the point where it just burns itself out. And so as they get to lower and lower and smaller circuit sizes, that makes the processors faster. It makes them consume less power. So you get what's called more processing power per watt of electrical energy. Apple right now is sort of the king of that. So you get a lot of processing power for very, very good battery life. So Apple is very good at that right now because they're using very, very small circuits. And who does this? Who creates these small circuits? It's Taiwan Semiconductor. And so they're located in Taiwan, and that's why a lot of people are concerned about Taiwan.
The Taiwan thing. I was born and raised in Taiwan, and I was. So every time when we talk about Taiwan's problem, I feel like it feels like inevitable there will be a war there. So
let's hope not. Let's hope not. And
let's hope not. Yeah.
For the people. And
right.
They're trying in the US, they're trying to create that same manufacturing capability in the US. And Taiwan Semiconductor is working with them to do that. That's part of this CHIPS Act and so forth. But it'll take several years before they can ramp that up to what's going on in Taiwan Semiconductor. But it's a big problem. I don't want to minimize the human aspect of this. But for example, the US military, they have a big problem with this because if you're working on a military project, you're supposed to dual source the technology. So you don't want to rely on just one source, because if something happens to that source, then you're in trouble. So they try to dual source the military technology, but you can't do that with these processors because Taiwan Semiconductor is the only source. So anyways, it's a very interesting dynamic.
I think Taiwan, because right now I saw the election result. They have like a green party and blue party, if we make it simple. And blue party, long time ago, they were against China, but now it becomes they are more pro to China. And the green party, they hate China, and they were more like independent, like Taiwan independent. Now, before, it was 3 kind of like a three. One is white party. They just like a slowly race, and white party is in the middle. So now white party has one candidate, blue party has one candidate, and the green party has one. Now there's another one that is from blue party that he wants to, because he's the richest person. It's called his name is Guo Taiming. He's the richest person in Taiwan, and he belongs to blue party. And now two blue parties has candidate. And the Guo Taiming, he's so rich, he just say, oh, I'm independent from blue party and I wanna be the candidate. So now two blue party, one white party, and one green party. Guess what? Now it's 50-50, 50 points to green and 50 points to blue. And white is kind of like some part blue, some part green.
Is this for the president, or is this for
president? And
so
so blue party
has the voting finished?
Not yet. The time is very similar to Americans president election time. So now blue party becomes split to two. So blue party won't win, because blue party now has two candidates. One is the richest person, Guo Taiming. He wants to elect. Another one is the Hou Youyi, which is the mayor of Taipei, Xinbei Shi. It's like, it's like a long story short. So Green Party will be 100% win, and it's Lai Ching-te, which is the current party, Green Party. And Green Party wants Taiwan independent. And China said that if Green Party win, we will have a war anyway. So Green Party will win because the Blue Party, that Guo Taiming, split the vote. And it's definitely, so I was like, wow, I feel like I'm witness the process because the Blue Party is not gather together and put all the vote to one person. If Blue Party unify, then Blue Party would like to win, and Blue Party is like, oh, we want to make friends with China. So they won't be like, because current situation is that we don't hate you, we don't want independent. It's like a Ukraine, right? Ukraine, if they don't say that, oh, I want to join or I want to not to have too exaggerate declaration. And normally it won't cause that too much reaction. And Green Party, they like to fight or something and just say a lot of words that make China unhappy. And unfortunately, Taiwan couldn't swing away or run away. It's just locate there. So yeah, I can see very likely there might be something happen just because Blue Party, they just split. Yeah. So that's like as a Taiwanese and every day follow the political. I mean, if I say Taiwanese political, nobody really will say anything to me because nobody, it's a small thing. Yes. Right. It's a big thing for me because it's my family's there, but it's like in America, people probably don't know what I'm talking about. But I can see that it's very likely there will be a war because Green Party will win and Green Party will do a lot of things, make peace off China. So
an interesting question is, what is the U.S. going to do if something like that happens?
I think it probably, I don't know, because Taiwanese people don't really believe U.S. will help. I don't know, according to my the news that I read, and people kind of like, oh, where they can run. Something like that. Yeah.
I did look up one time Taiwan Semiconductor, and it seems like they've got facilities all over
Arizona, the TMC, the Taijidian. Yeah, I know the Chinese name, but I forgot TSM something. TMS. Yes, semiconductor, the largest one. They kind of migrate or they expand or they have another branch. I would say they want to hollow out the Taiwanese semiconductor and migrate the entire technology to America.
But I did notice that Taiwan Semiconductor is spread all over Taiwan. They have facilities all over Taiwan. I'm sure some of them are more important than others, but I was surprised to see that they are just all over Taiwan.
Yeah. And I don't think that And the scary thing is that, have you seen like one of the Biden's talk? Biden accidentally said to the news that, oh, you know, if someone said that, oh, Ukraine and Russian, da 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 da, and then Biden just say, oh, you haven't seen our plan attacked Taiwan. Yeah, that is even crazier. Because according to what, I don't know, Biden said that if there's a war between China and Taiwan, America want to kind of bombard the Taiwanese semiconductor because they don't want China to
And have
get
it,
it.
right.
Yeah,
That's-
and I feel like it's like, oh God, that's my hometown. You say it's so easy, right? But
Right.
it's my hometown, you know, I've been to, yeah,
Exactly.
and I know everyone live there, and I've been living there for 23 years.
It just
yeah.
sounds too crazy to me. I don't think the American people would put up with that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like American people, you see right now, Ukraine war. Do you feel like even though you say something, can you really change the war? No. I
No.
mean, it's
I mean, you can
Yeah.
change leaders though. So I just can't see the US doing that. If they did, there would be a lot of dissent.
Yeah, I
Right.
don't know. It's just like when I think of Taiwan and China, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's just seeing something that will go into a certain path, and that path is not optimistic.
I know
Yes.
everybody is nervous about it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Taiwan wants to be the center of AI chips, you know, because if we are so strong and people care about us, if we are not strong and people just like whatever, nobody cares. It's just another war in somewhere in, you know, like Africa or, you know, like somewhere in the
Well,
Middle
more like
East.
Ukraine, right? I mean, we care about
Yeah.
Ukraine, but you know, it's only because it's near Europe, right? I mean, it wasn't near Europe, but Taiwan's near Japan, and you know, we care a lot about the whole Asian area.
Yeah. So it's like I would say that it's normal, and before a lot of people believe that American will help Taiwan, but I told them that, hey, we are not different. We are different race. Imagine Taiwan. Well, Taiwan sent a troop to Ukraine to help them. We don't even talk their language, right? And we wish them best, but we won't get involved. So I feel like this way, you see, like Afghanistan, like Biden was like a retreat, and it was not a glamorous moment, right? Yeah, I believe that Taiwanese need to fight themselves. However, I don't think it will win. It probably within a couple of days, and the entire island will be taken over. Yeah.
Well, we probably shouldn't spend too much time on politics.
Yeah, right. That's true. It's just every time we just talk about that. Yeah. So that's Stephen King. Yeah. So we just like kind of like browsing through the news,
What was
and
the title of that one?
yeah, Stephen King won't forbid AI from training on his writing, and he's not afraid of AI yet. Yeah, but it's very interesting that if AI can write something like Stephen King, right? It'll be interesting. But he's a well-established writer, so yeah. So he probably has a lot of savings. Cool. Anybody wanna share their news?
I have stuff, but Kyle, did you have anything? Good to see you, by the way, Kyle.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm good, thanks. Yeah. Today I'm just all ears what you
Okay,
got to say.
okay.
Nothing new on my side.
Well,
Yeah.
But you can continue, Joe.
I got some stuff here. Let's see.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, we have like a XReality Academy Hub. If you can give me your email and post on chat, and I will add you to the hub. Yeah, and we will post like a couple of links there, and we can because sometimes we want to share things, and on the chat it will miss. So and we create a
I'll put my
hub.
email.
Yeah. I think I have yours somewhere, but I mean, if you can give me again, so I don't have to
I'll
pick
give
it.
it to you on the chat. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, let's see.
Jim, if you could-
Shoot. Hang on. Chrome is trying to be obstinate here. Hang on. I always have to get the browser away from the Zoom controls. Okay. So this is a New York Times article. Unfortunately, in this browser, it's hard for me to display this article. They had 3 different reporters ride in, I think it's in San Francisco. They've got Waymo taxis now running, and Waymo is the self-driving car system, I think, that was spun off from Amazon. Was it no, from Google. I'm sorry, from Google. And so anyways, they've got Waymo taxis now running in San Francisco. Have you been in one, Dominique?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very cool. And I know a lot of things happen in San Francisco, and I'm around here. The interesting thing is that I saw a lot of news that it's like car accident and a lot of things because there's nobody driving. It's still in the beta mode. Yeah, I mean, I still believe human more. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I've actually worked in this area as well, and my personal feeling is that the technology that goes into self-driving cars can be very useful as in driver assist mode, and can help you avoid accidents and so forth. But when you sit down behind the wheel of a car, you bring a lot more to that process than the computer system does. And so, anyways, the New York Times had 3 reporters that took Waymo taxis all to the same location, and they had different experiences to a certain extent. And so that was sort of interesting. The experiences went relatively smooth, but there have been issues with accidents and so forth with these self-driving cars. So I'm not too keen on having a car drive me around, but I think it could be useful as driver assist. I talked a little bit earlier about virtual machines. Parallels, which is the virtual machine software that runs on the Mac, they've just come out with a new version, and it's got better Mac support, particularly for Sonoma, which is the beta version of the Mac operating system. I don't know if I would run Sonoma right now, but so they're supporting that more. What was it? VMware, I think it was, is coming out with better graphics support supposedly in their new version. They're another company that does virtual machines on the Mac and on other systems.
Yeah, so Sonoma is so far when I develop Vision Pro, you need to update your Mac OS Sonoma first. And I updated.
You don't.
Really?
No, you don't have to. You can run it in Ventura.
The interesting thing is that when I changed to it, in the middle of it, it crashed. And later on, when I was trying to watch Netflix, it crashed.
Don't run Sonoma. Don't run Sonoma.
But now it's on Sonoma. My entire system.
Did you have backups or anything like that?
I mean, it's just on Sonoma.
You got to have backups down.
Sonoma is not good. Okay.
I would not run it. If you run, a beta version of Xcode or
beta version of Xcode.
That's okay. But I would not run Sonoma at this point. It's just too risky. You're going to have too many crashes.
Yes, a lot of crashes.
Right. If it's the machine that is your daily driver that you have your calendar on and all that stuff, it's just too risky.
Very risky. Yes, I totally agree because I encountered this. Okay, go ahead.
So if you wanted to run Sonoma, I would run it in a virtual machine. So say you're a developer, for example. So what you can do is let's say you're running Ventura, macOS Ventura, and Sonoma is the version that comes after Ventura, but it's still in beta. Don't recommend it. If you do want to run macOS Sonoma for development or whatnot, then you could get something like Parallels, create a virtual machine, which I think will initially be created in Ventura, and then you can upgrade that virtual machine to Sonoma, and then you can run Sonoma within that and see how it goes. And you can do, if you're developing, you may very well want to run your software in Sonoma to see how it works. And so you can do that inside the virtual machine. So that isolates you from crashing the whole machine and screwing up your calendar and everything else. So that's the way I would run Sonoma if you want to do that. But otherwise I wouldn't. And if you want to develop for Vision OS, you do not have to have Sonoma. So you can do it in Ventura. So anyways, I like the idea of parallels. I'm not running it right now, but I do have an Intel-based Mac that's running that I run Boot Camp on, which runs Windows 10 natively. But I do want to set up parallels and start running some virtual machines in that. So that's a good heads up, particularly if you're a developer. This is sort of an interesting thing. There's been a thing. I know that we have members who are interested in 3D, stereoscopic 3D, and avatars are particularly this latest Avatar movie is a great example of that. Avatar: The Way of Water. And one of the problems with 3D at theaters has been that it has just not kept up with the times. The same goes for if you buy a 3D Blu-ray discs. The technology has just not kept up with the times. So if you go to a theater to watch a new movie, lots of times you'll be able to watch it in 4K. Which is very nice, and it'll look sharper and more detailed that way. And if you get a Blu-ray and play it on your TV or whatnot, if you have a 4K TV, you can get 4K Blu-rays and watch those. Very nice. The problem with the 3D content, though, is it has been stuck at 2K per eye, and so what happens is you don't get as much sharpness, you don't get as much detail. Okay, well, maybe we could live with that. But then the problem on top of that is when they shoot most 3D movies in recent times, they don't shoot them in 3D. They shoot them in 2D. And then they convert them to 3D. And the problem with that is there's a lot of manual steps to that conversion process. And so there's a big sort of factory of minions that go in and draw in the 3D. And so, for example, I shoot 3D all the time. And if I'm in the studio and I'm shooting a model in 3D, I'm not shooting her or him in 2K. I'm not shooting them in 4K. I'm shooting them in 8K per eye. And so, when you look at that 3D image, their eyelashes are poking out at you through the screen. In 2D movie or in 3D movies, though, oftentimes the actors have no 3D eyelashes, have no eyelashes in 3D. And so it's very disappointing for me to look at movies that look like that. And so often, even though I'm a 3D addict, often I would rather just watch the 4K movie in 2D versus the 3D movie in 2K per eye. So anyways, Avatar is 4K per eye. It's, I believe, at 48 frames per second. That's another problem with the recent, in recent years, the 2D, it's all 24 frames per second, 2K per eye. So it's not the greatest experience. Same thing with 3D Blu-rays. And oftentimes you can't even buy a 3D Blu-ray for a movie that was released in 3D in the theaters. So, anyways, hopefully Avatar will break that streak of sort of the low frame rate, poorly produced 3D movies. And so I'm rooting for them. The Vision Pro headset, by the way, has 4K per eye. It is, when it comes out, it will be the best 3D display on the market. You can, you might have a 4K TV that you bought a few years ago. They're not being sold right now, to my knowledge. And the problem is those 4K TVs, they make compromises with the resolution. So you may have 4K per eye in terms of image width, but they will throw out half the vertical resolution, for example. That's a typical thing. And so you lose a lot when you're looking at those TVs. But the Apple Vision Pro headset will have 4K per eye. It doesn't throw away any of the resolution. It will be the best 3D display that consumers can get. And it's not a 24 frame per second device. It's not a 48 frame per second device. Avatar is 48, but it will be a 90 frame per second device. And it will have a special mode for 24 frame per second video, and it will run that at 96 frames per second. So it's a special mode for that. So that's going to be a killer display. Plus the those displays, those 4K displays within the Vision Pro headset are not only 4K per eye, they are also OLED displays. So they have infinite contrast ratios, which makes things look very dazzling. And so that's going to be killer. So, you know, they played part of Avatar as part of the demos on the Vision Pro headset. And so I think we're going to see some really spectacular stuff in that regard.
Jim, have you seen the Vision Pro? I mean, have you put it on you or at all?
I have not put it on. I've read so much about it, and we did a news segment on the engineering behind the Vision Pro, which was one of our more popular news segments. But and Dominique put out a video this past week on Vision Pro, just a 30-second video. And last time I looked at it, it had a fair amount of views just for a 30-second video.
Yeah,
So,
right. I think right now, the interesting thing is that as far as I analyze it, I post on LinkedIn, and more like founders, C-suites are very interested in my videos. It's not B2C, but probably B2B. So that's why slowly I will create a bunch of, I mean, the reason why I start like a Vision Pro development using Xcode or Swift UI is because imagine that, like we probably get doing the Unity development for a long time, and Unity development, it seems like it's more like for developer, right? And then developer are get used to, you know, all the coding stuff. However, Vision Pro, the Xcode, and Reality Composer Pro, they are, I would say, a little bit designer friendly because you can drag and drop, or the Composer Pro, Reality Composer is just, the name is hard to remember. It's very easy for the non-developer, just drag and drop and manipulate or animate things. They have a lot of preset and template. And even the coding, for example, if I just add like a paddings or and it just finish it for you. You don't have to code like a very detailed, like you know, the traditional way. So it has a lot of modifier and frameworks. Yeah, I can see it's, I don't want to say that, but it seems like easier than Unity development, easier a little bit. And I think right now I'm still waiting for Unity to have the SDK launch, but I am deciding to kind of start creating a bunch of tutorials or workshops. And and right now we are doing the membership. And later on, Jim, if you can stay after you finish, we want to talk about some, you know, some membership related questions. Right now we are kind of like we want to kind of at least work on something that really matters. And I think Vision Pro, a lot of people think this might be, this might be another transition or something that people are kind of like want to have at least start getting familiar with it. And next January, we can start working on it or just ready to launch. So go ahead.
I have a question for you, Dominique. I had read, I thought, 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that the conversion tools for Unity to Vision Pro had been released in some form. And I
Huh.
talked to a developer a couple days ago
Huh.
who's a Mac developer who's worked in
Yeah,
Unity.
yeah,
Said,
yeah.
no,
Did it?
they're not available yet. He
Yeah,
can't.
right. I couldn't even get in, and I was like, who can get in? Probably Unity inner circle. They can do it, but I
Okay,
didn't get it.
so you're not able to do it. And
No.
you're a paid Apple developer, so you're not able to get it from that side.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like it seems like there are a lot of people who are. I think Unity, like on LinkedIn, there are a bunch of people ask me like, what do I think about Reality Composer versus Unity? I mean, I said that if you can learn Unity, you learn Unity. Why? Because Unity, you can do so much on it,
Yeah.
right? And Reality Composer is only limited to Apple product. But if Apple product later on becomes the most prominent, profitable XR stuff, then learn Reality Composer and Swift or Xcode might be a good way because you are in the best spot, right? Yeah, we still don't know the future, but it seems like a lot of people said the headset is so good. Yeah, and we just wanna testing things out, and yeah, there's always Unity you can count on. And I know that a lot of people who doesn't like code, and Xcode does provide a lot of drag and drop modifier and also a lot of drag and drop stuff. So I think Unity right now is working on the AI and also the prompt integrate with inside Unity. So I
And
don't
since we're
know.
talking about this, I'll bring up an article on
Okay,
this.
okay. Mhm.
Developers evangelize Apple Vision Pro Labs in latest update. Now, I don't know if you're aware of it, but if everyone out there is aware of it, but Apple has several different mechanisms set up for Vision Pro development right now. One is that you can apply to get the headset itself if you're a developer. Another avenue is at Apple's Cupertino site and 5 other sites around the world. I think London, and I don't remember what all the other ones are, but they're around the world. You can apply to go in for a day at one of those centers and test your software that you're writing for the Vision Pro on the headset itself. Now, for Dominique, they're right in her backyard. So
I mean, when I know this, I click in and it's already full. Like,
is it already full?
yeah, I was
Well,
like,
here's the interesting thing.
Okay,
I've been reading, and this article talks about that surprisingly, there's been less people going to these than they thought would go. And so you might try again. Maybe you can get in.
let me try again, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, too bad. It's like 25th on Cupertino, and it's already passed.
Yeah, give it a shot. So you can go in and you spend a day there, I guess.
Yeah, right.
And you can try things out on the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's great if you're living there, like Dominique is. But if you've got to get on a plane, let's say you're in the East Coast of the United States, boy, that's sort of a long trip to go through. So that's another way that you can do it. You can also send your Vision Pro app into Apple, and they will try it out, and they'll tell you.
Oh, that would be great if they can try it out. If you see this, I saw it and I get in and everything was, you see, 28th. Yeah, it's closed. The view details, unfortunately, it closed, but it might have another one, I just have to keep an eye on this thing because they don't want to over advertising it. So I didn't really see, even though I'm like reading some, some documentations on Apple's. I'm watching all the kind of tutorials online and also the rules, how Vision Pro's role is.
Yeah.
I mean, Vision Pro's, I really like the classic, like the golden blur background, the one, because it doesn't have the dark mode or light mode. It's just the same materials, which is very interesting. And if you do like the mobile coding, the iOS coding versus the Vision Pro coding, it seems like there are a lot of roles, and I feel like, because I saw like a Swift UI, like some tutorials, a lot of developers, they create something without the design guidance. It goes sometimes very messy. But for Vision Pro, it seems like you create something, it won't look too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they have all their guidelines published and everything.
Yeah, right.
This article is on Apple Insider. You might see this AI and think it means artificial intelligence. No, it means Apple Insider in this case.
Yeah.
And so the idea was that Apple's not getting as many people at these centers as they expected. And so they had several developers evangelize, going to these labs and testing out their app. Now, I have to say, though, that I think it was 3 different developers. They were all developers of iOS apps that already existed. So these were not apps that were specific, that were Vision Pro only apps. And it may be that the Vision Pro only app developers don't want to talk about their apps. So anyways, it was an interesting article. Since this just came up in conversation, I figured I'd talk about it. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, now, Dominique, you linked to this article on the XReality Academy Circle thing. Did you talk about this in the news that has been?
XR Today Guide Shopping VR Motion Sickness. Oh,
This was an excellent article. I saw it in your posting. I don't know if we talked about this in the news that's going to get posted on YouTube yet.
Can you share this link? I saw this, but I didn't really repost it or something. I saw this one.
Let me put it in the chat.
Yeah, I can post on. Or do you want to post on the our Circle community?
I'll just post it in the chat here.
Yeah. We can put on Circle community, so later on we can go back and.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a very good article, and I'm going to have to go back and check some of my stuff. And I view my stuff in 3D. The stuff that I create in 3D, I view it in 3D, and I try to view it taking up as large of a field of view as possible, and it doesn't make me nauseous. But I should try it in a headset and see if I want to throw up, because I certainly don't want to make people throw up. And I tend to have motion sickness anyways. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and I was getting nauseous. So anyways, I thought this was a very good article. And they talk about the things you have to do to prevent nausea in your VR development. And then on top of this, they mentioned something for the MetaQuest, the MetaQuest virtual reality check guidelines. And I think I read something that it says these VRC guidelines are provided to help you build high quality apps for the MetaQuest headsets.
Can you share this to the chat as well? Yeah, and I will post on the Circle community just for.
This was linked to in the in the article. So let me put it in the chat.
Yeah,
I thought this was very interesting. It is sort of specific to the MetaQuest, but there's a lot to learn here, even if you're developing for something like the Vision Pro. And they say that they say something in here. I think that these aren't necessarily the latest guidelines, but anyways, I went through it and I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought they had some good things to say. So so you might want to take a look at this, and it's linked, like I said, it's linked to in that previous article. And so anyways, I thought it was good stuff. You've been posting some good stuff, Dominique. And here's another article that I thought might be interesting to our members. Over a dozen malicious NPM packages target Roblox game developers.
Oh, this is dangerous. Those are kids, so. Yeah,
so this is, you might accidentally download one of these files that you might use in your game development, and it's got malware in it. So
can you share the link maybe on Circle or something? Yeah, because I mean,
just post it in the chat.
Yeah, and I will repost on Circle. Yeah, I think now the world has become something like there are so many new things every day, and there are a lot of everything just changed so fast. So
I have to say,
Mm.
this hackathon or the Hacker News,
Mhm.
.com, that's become one of my favorite sites. And I used to do computer security consulting. I ran an IT group and so forth. One of my many tasks that I've done. But I'm sort of fascinated with this site, and the impression that I'm getting is that there is more and more effective malware out there that's sort of getting around the roadblocks that security software is trying to put up. And so if you're running a Mac, I would definitely run antivirus software. It's becoming a more and more challenging world in terms of this kind of stuff. So, I mean, even if you're running a Android tablet or something, I would run antivirus software on that. So anyways, I thought that was interesting news, and that's all that I've got today.
Cool. Yeah. So anybody has any thoughts, comments, last minute thing? Let me stop recording.
Well, I would just let you know, I tried to get my video working, but unfortunately